Welcome to the Women Writing Podcast. I'm your book coach, Lisa Kovala. I'm an author, accelerator, certified fiction and memoir book coach, and the author of Sisters Winter War, Surviving Stutthof, and the upcoming Like Water for Weary Souls. And as a Finnish Canadian, I love my coffee. Take a coffee break with us as we chat about all things writerly with authors and publishing industry professionals. In today's episode of Women Writing, I'm having a coffee break with Alison McBain. Alison's human-created novels are the recipients of over 13 awards, including the Forward Indies. Her work has been nominated for both Best of the Net and Pushcart Prize, and she is recently shortlisted for the Alpine Fellowship in 2025. When not writing for herself, she's a ghostwriter who has penned over 24 books for clients, as well as an award-winning editor who has worked with both celebrity and New York Times bestselling authors. In 2024, she pursued a project called Author versus AI, where she wrote a book a week using no AI at all, 34 books total. When not writing, Ms. McBain is the associate editor for the magazine Scribes Micro and draws all of the walls of her house with the enthusiastic help of her kids. She lives in Alberta, Canada. Hi, Alison. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks for joining me for a coffee break today. What are you taking a coffee break from?
You never know. So, actually, here in Alberta, we had the teacher strike recently come to an end. So, I had my kids at home with me, so I wasn't doing a ton of writing
Right.
during that time, but mostly bopping around with the kids.
Yeah,
But
fair
so
enough.
that's probably what I'm taking a break from.
Yeah, that's good though, right? You can just, okay, they're back at school and you can
Yep.
relax and
Mhm.
hopefully all the well, I was a former teacher too, so I remember those times when you're on strike. It's just so terrible for everybody.
It
And
is. Yeah.
you want those negotiations to go well, but it's also hard on parents and it's hard for the kids to be home for too long and it's just bad all the way around. So hopefully a shout out to all the teachers and hopefully
Definitely.
they can
Definitely.
figure
Yeah.
out all the things. Oh my gosh. So I've just been enjoying learning a little bit about you. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about when you first started writing. When did you start getting really serious about it?
Well, I don't know if serious is the word, but I always knew I wanted to be a writer. So, according to family lore, I wrote my first story when I was 4, and it was a ghost story about the monster in the closet.
Yes.
And I really haven't stopped writing since. I guess when I started getting serious was after I had had my second daughter, and I was at home and sort of going nuts because
Yes.
I had a toddler, I had a
Yeah.
newborn baby, and I was like, I got to do something for myself.
Right.
And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to buckle down and finally finish that book, and
Oh,
I did.
amazing. And what genre do you typically write in?
Actually, all genres. So I love to read in all genres. So I love to write in all genres. I do have a soft spot for fantasy. So I have several several books in fantasy. But really anything, good stories are everywhere.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
100%.
Yeah, doesn't matter what the background
Oh
is.
my gosh. So the one thing I was super fascinated by was a project that you did last year. And can you tell us about it? It was no AI. What was it called? And what
Yeah,
did
it
you
was
have to do?
called yeah, it was called Author versus AI. And as you can tell from the title, I used no AI at all in writing a book a week. And I did that for 34 weeks, produced 34 first draft books. I
Wow.
won't say they're, they weren't published right away, no. But yeah, produced 34 first drafts of books in all genres.
Oh my gosh. So what was that? What a day look like for you when you were writing so much in over a year?
Um, a typical day was basically, send the kids off to school
Yes.
and then get to writing. So I'd write anywhere between, let's see, maybe about 5 hours to sometimes 8 hours or more a day. So, I'd work around, when my kids came home from school, I'd take a break, hang out with them, check on their homework, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then after they were in bed or they're doing their own thing after supper, I'd get back to it.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty long day, I would
Yeah.
say, of writing. I also did a lot of media around it. So I was recording videos with writing tips and, talking about the different books that I was working on, reading excerpts from the books. So there was some marketing
Yeah.
involved in it too. But
Nice.
yep, mostly lots of writing.
That's crazy. And so so I imagine before this project, you were writing quite so intensively. Like, was this the most
Um,
intensive writing period in your life, or are you just like really prolific?
Well, one thing that I do is I'm also a ghostwriter.
Oh
So
yeah,
it actually sparked the idea for this. It was part of the, sort of compilation of like, oh, I could do this. Because I was writing a lot of books for different clients.
right.
So I was writing about a book a week
Wow.
for clients at times, not all the time.
Yeah.
So this definitely took it to the next level because it wasn't, when you ghostwrite, you'll work on one or two or sometimes three projects. And then they'll be done. And then there'll be a bit of a break before you find another client to work for a new project. So this was just nonstop. So it was a bit more of a marathon rather than the sprint. So yeah, so definitely this project was the most I've ever written.
So maybe just some background on the project. Was it something you decided to do, or was it something that a lot of writers were doing and you all signed up?
No, it was just me.
You were like,
Although,
okay,
yeah, part of the impetus for it was inspiration because this is, I first conceived of that idea, before I even started last year. So it was back in, I guess, 2023. So um, everyone was talking about AI. It had just
yeah,
come onto the scene. There was the writer's strike in Hollywood, it was a huge concern. Um, and it really just came together from talking to other writers who were like, oh, well, why should I write a book if AI, if someone's just,
right.
I could just have my computer do it. Like, what's the point? So part of it was wanting to inspire writers to just sort of keep on doing it. And along the way, I'm very pleased to have heard this and talked to writers who said, wow, this is inspiring. I am going to write that book. Or some people didn't take on the book a week thing,
Yes.
but they took on, like, okay, I'm going to do a book in a month, or I'm going to do a book this year. And to me, that is, no matter what else happens with all the books that I wrote, that is successful. Like to inspire another, group of writers to keep
Yeah.
on going.
Oh, that's genius. I thought initially when I read about it that it was some organization that had created this idea and you jumped on board, but you came up with
Nope.
this
It
and went
was
for it. So
yeah.
genius, right? And then I love that how it inspires other people because yeah, the whole conversation around AI is really fraught with all kinds of opinions and concerns and just I imagine too writing a book a week gave you out so many solid ideas for okay, I'm actually going to take this one and did any of those get published in the end? Did you go back to them, or are you planning to go back to any of those original stories?
Yeah, well, if last year was the year of writing, this year has been the year of editing.
Right.
So, because as you know, first drafts are never final drafts,
Yeah.
and they take a lot of work afterwards. And for me, I can write super duper fast, but the editing, that's where I slow down.
Right.
So I really take my time. I make sure, I run it by writers groups. I belong to a number of writers groups. So some of my drafts are currently in my writers groups
Yes.
getting critiqued, and some are finished and I've sent them out. So we'll see what happens. But as you also probably know, publishing is slow.
For sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, since I wasn't editing these works as I went,
Yeah.
it's going to be probably next year or the year after before these start coming out.
Yeah.
So
No, but I think that's amazing because sometimes, we have this one book idea and we work on it for 10 years or whatever, 20 years. And that's so inspiring to have like all these ideas and all these kind of first drafts ready to go. And then you can go, okay, I love this story. I really want to deep dive into it and revise and write drafts of that and put that one out. And you just have like you have a lot of books that could come out over a big span of time if you decided to move that direction, right? Like it's just so incredible. I think this is such a fun idea that, you could actually even create, NaNoWriMo is kind of defunct, but everyone is picking up on the November idea of writing a book in a month. This,
yeah.
this would be so fun to get folks involved in writing, you know, something every week. That'd be great. I think Not that you
It would
don't
be
already
fun.
have
Yeah.
things to do on your plate.
Well, actually, one of my planned books that for a future project, because I generally tend to write fiction and not nonfiction, is a how-to
Okay,
book, really. So, like, how did I do this? And,
good.
stories of good things that happened and bad things that happened along the way. But,
Amazing.
just to, again, carry on that thread of inspiring other writers. So, if writers do want to learn how to write quickly and how to write well, and along with some basic writing tips, this is something that is in my head and I will eventually put down on the page and have out there for other
Love
writers.
that. So fun. So fun. So you talked about ghostwriting. I'm so interested in ghostwriting because I mean, we know there are ghostwriters, but like that process and what that looks like, I'm not even that clear about it. So what does that look like for you? How do you find projects? What do you pick the ones you want to work on? What does that look like for you as a writer?
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, I do sort of a very niche type of ghostwriting. And I don't know, like it's sort of like Fight Club. Ghostwriters don't talk about ghostwriting, right? But like I'm happy to talk about it within limits.
Right, right, of
Um,
course.
but there's the ghostwriters that get the most attention are generally the nonfiction ghostwriters. I
Right,
don't do that.
right,
They're the ones who, like they interview people, they write down their stories, and they try to keep it in the voice of the person who's talking, right? Um, uh, so, Prince Harry, for example, like
yes,
he worked with a ghostwriter, right?
of course, yeah,
Um, but for a lot of fiction writers who turn to ghostwriting or turn to ghostwriters to help them along, it could be for a variety of reasons. So they might be under contract with a publisher and have to deliver, and for whatever reason, such as like health reasons, aren't able to. Um, it could be the publisher themselves who like had an author under contract and for whatever reason they can't deliver. And sometimes the manuscripts I work on, I call it sort of deep editing. So a writer might come to me and say, okay, I have, I have 20,000 words of a book. I don't know how to add on to it to make it, the 60,000, 70,000 I need. Can you flesh it out for me?
right,
Can you add in those details that would really make the story come alive?
right,
So those are the different types of, for me, fiction ghostwriting. Sometimes I do it completely from scratch. Sometimes I have something partial to work with. It really depends on the project. And yes, I do choose my projects.
yeah,
It would be super hard to not
yeah,
write in something that I don't feel connected to,
yeah.
especially because you are trying to get the voice of the author themselves. And if they have previously published work, you have to go back and do your research and read it and make sure you're doing the same tone, same word choice, that
Right.
kind of thing, in order to bring their story to life and make
Wow.
it feel authentic.
I imagine that over time that has been really important for you as a writer to develop your own skills because now you're real looking at somebody else's voice and trying to write like them. And so, I mean, it's difficult enough for especially new writers to find their own voice, and you're able to kind of pop into other voices and genres. And I think that would be incredibly strengthening for your own craft as well. Do you find that to be the case when you were first starting out?
Definitely, because then it made me pay more attention to tone and voice for the characters. So it's much easier, I find, after all this stuff that I did to really nail that like because I write in all genres, I also write in all sort of tones. Like so I'll do like comedy or I'll do like a very serious literary piece. And it makes it easier for me to switch back and forth because I had to do it professionally. I had to do it for others and really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So every bit helps, right? It helps your own writing journey.
Amazing. So for yourself, you've written a lot of novels and you're a multi-award winner. Is there any particular advice you have for writers who are thinking about being more serious about it? Like there's that kind of I feel like there's a kind of a line where um writers are kind of doing it as a hobby, and then there's this line where they go, oh, okay, no, I want to be more serious now. I want to improve my craft. I want to take classes or whatever. What was your journey like, and what do you think folks should maybe consider doing?
For me, I feel like the most important thing, aside from classes and reading about writing and mentorship and all of these wonderful things that you can do to hone your craft, is just to write.
Yeah.
And it seems so basic. It's such a
Yeah.
basic idea, but I feel like also sometimes writers who want to progress further on their journey, they get distracted by
Right.
a lot of this other stuff that
Yeah.
that can be helpful, but the
Mhm.
most important thing is just to get that first draft done.
Yeah.
After that, you can start looking at mentorships and start looking at advice on how to proceed from there. But before you have that first draft, it's really hard because you'll have, again, too much competing information, and it will probably hold you back from actually finishing that draft.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, it's like anything. And I tell my kids this, like in order to get better, you got to practice. You got
Yes.
to practice at it.
Yeah.
So just keep on writing.
Yeah.
Don't let people hold you back. Like, believe in your own voice,
Yeah.
because I mean, I love working with new writers because they're so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Just keep that enthusiasm going and just write.
Great. Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I feel like sometimes early in the process, if they're getting too much advice from different people, it just makes it more confusing for them about what to move forward, and they're not trusting the original story idea they had.
Yeah.
And trust your story and write it, and then you can learn how to convey it more clearly or develop it. But I feel like that can be the case too, almost like what's the old saying, too many cooks in the kitchen. No.
Yeah. Yeah,
For
for sure.
sure, for sure. So you have a writing groups that where you will send a manuscript to them for feedback. At what stage do you send it to them? When do you, is it what partway through, like you've done some drafts, or is it when you think it's as best as it can be, and then you send it out to them?
It really depends. Usually I find, like, because I can catch a lot of the mistakes that I put in my first draft and like fix
Yeah.
them. So I usually try to do that first because I don't want to waste their time. Most of them are editors also.
Yes.
So they will catch all my mistakes if I put them, give them a rough draft, but
Yes.
it's not the best use of their time or their attention. So I really like to send it when I feel it's like at least somewhat polished,
Yeah.
and they can give me more feedback on the overall structure rather than like saying, you forgot this comma here.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
but
that's
writers groups are amazing. I would
yeah.
definitely, again, anyone who's looking on, going on this journey, writers groups can be
Yeah.
your best friends, your support network, and a gentle hand of critique.
Yeah, 100%, right? And how did you find your writing group? Was that something online? Did you find them? Were they friends? How did you discover them? Because there's so many ways to find people now, but sometimes it's hard to know where to start.
That's true. And there are writers groups all around. We're just very quiet and
That's it.
don't necessarily advertise them. So a number of ways. So the writers group that I belonged to the longest, I found sort of by accident. I met this other writer in a library group that I had looked for. So libraries are your best friend. You will find lots of resources there. And he's like, you know, I like your writing. I have a group. Do you want to come? And I was like, okay, sure. Like, and this was when I was very new and fresh and like had maybe had a couple publications, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And they have been like the best friends ever and like the best support network. And I love them all dearly.
Awesome.
And we started a press together.
Oh,
So,
really?
and yeah, and this is Fairfield Scribes Publishing, and our magazine is Scribes Micro, which has been going for a number of years. So,
Oh, love it.
yep, we're still very much in each other's business, writing or otherwise.
Yeah,
but
so
but other
good.
ones, like they're like I feel like every province has great
Yeah.
resources. Like there's usually writers guilds for the province, like Writers Guild of Alberta. There are normally organizations like here we have also the Alexandra Writer Center,
Yes.
which runs a number of writing groups. But again, on the local level, there's look for your library, look for readings, go to open mics. You'll meet people who will be like, "Oh, hey, I have a writing group."
Right.
Um, and if for nothing else, if you can't find anything in your area, the best advice I have is start your own,
Yeah,
which I
totally
have
agree.
done.
Yes, yeah, totally
And
agree.
yeah, and you'd be amazed who comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so wonderful. Well, I'm super curious about your group deciding to start a press. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like, what it entails for you? I mean, you're already a super busy. I already know that. And and that's also published books. So what does that look like for you and your group?
So actually I didn't found this group that my longest running group. And before I had joined them, they had published an anthology, mostly of the members of the group, and put it out. And then we did the highly technical thing where someone said, "Hey, we should put out another anthology." And then everyone said not in and touched their nose. And I had no idea. I had no idea about this as a process of voting. And so
Right?
I was the last one. And so I became the de facto editor of
Love
the
it.
next anthology. And I
Yeah,
don't do things by half measure. So I was like, if we're doing this, we should really have a website. And if we have a website, we should really open for other submissions. And if we have and it just snowballed. And we started publishing anthologies regularly, some collections of poetry. We published some novels. So it just went on from there.
amazing.
And then during the pandemic, when we're like, you know what, people don't like getting stuff in the mail so much these days, we probably should, put a pause on anthologies. We jumped into doing the magazine, which
Yeah,
became very popular. We were surprised how popular it
that
got.
is
So
so great. It just goes to show that if you just sort of step forward and try things, right? Like, I mean, I remember my students would always do that too. And the first time they did that, I'd be like, what are you doing? And then they
exactly.
were like, well, we're not it. That person's it. I'm like, okay, well, you're presenting first, apparently. So, but it's just that you're put in that position. So you're like, okay, I'll do this. And doesn't mean you feel ready, but you just do it anyway. And I think that's really good for everyone to take into consideration that you don't actually have to have a ton of experience in something to learn it and to just decide, okay, I'm doing this and let's figure it out. And I love that you're like, no, we're going to do it right. Like, we need all the things. We need a website. We need the things. Great, right? And you need that kind of enthusiasm in the group to get it to the next level. And I think
That's
that's
true. Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, for sure. So do you have other projects in mind? Are there things in the on the horizon that you're working towards? Sounds like you're an ideas person.
Well, one thing that my magazine does is every year we do a contest with big cash prizes. Well, big for us. They're
Yeah.
not, you know, several $100s,
Yeah.
for cash prizes. So we're just coming to end. We're about next month we will announce the winners. So I'm very excited about that. But for myself, yeah, I'm just going to keep on editing these books, get some of them out. Some of them, again, I've been sending them out to various places. Some have made long lists on contests, short lists.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see, when they start getting out there, and
Yeah.
hopefully people will enjoy them.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. But I want to pause for a minute to talk a little bit about AI again, because kind of like full circle back around to this project you had and the fact that you wrote all those books with the distinction that there was no AI involved. What is your concern around this new era of writing and discussion about AI, and how do you think it might affect us as authors and the publishing industry in general, I guess?
Geez, how much time do you have?
I know, right? Yeah.
There are a lot of concerns. First, AI has been built on pirated works, so that is definitely a concern, because where it comes from is problematic. And again, what people are using it for. There have been some cases of lawsuits where I just read about one today, a new one today,
Oh,
where people have used it and said, okay, write in the style of Stephen King, this book.
Yeah.
And obviously, Stephen King did not give permission for that to
Yeah.
happen and someone to publish it and make a profit off of it.
Yeah.
So there are, problems in that way
Hmm.
also. Not to mention, like it's one thing I think that a lot of writers do, the reason that we write is because we love to do it. It's a creative, it brings out a part of us that we can't express in another way.
Right.
And the same is true for musicians, right? And artists. So if you take that away, if you make it untenable for people to continue to pursue that major part of them, like I've always thought of myself as a writer, even when I wasn't writing,
Yeah.
and to not be able to do that, not to be able to get those very human oriented stories out, takes away a part of who we are too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I could go on. There's
I
there's so many
know.
reasons why I don't think that it really belongs central in
Yeah.
the creative uh, endeavor. Um, and I think there are a lot of authors and other artists that do agree on
Yeah.
that, which is why there's a growing movement,
Yeah.
not just among the people who are creating, but also publishers
Yeah.
and companies that are saying no to AI
Yeah.
in that way. So,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. We're in we're in sort of an industrial revolution of AI. We'll
It's
see where
true.
it leads. And 10 years from now, it will probably all be settled and we'll be like, oh, well, this is the way it is now. So,
Right. Yeah, I suppose so. I have this secret hope that, like, right now, when you read work that's AI generated, there's no soul in it, right?
no,
It's
it's
just like the
terrible.
story might be okay, but there's no feeling in it. And so I think we can mostly identify that it's AI generated, and certainly art still, you can still identify it generally. But I think it will get better, which is scary. Um, but I hope that there'll be a movement for readers that will absolutely like reject AI generated writing, and they'll just want like novels and work done by human beings. Sort of like a movement away from like fast fashion towards more sustainable clothing, or
Definitely.
handcrafted items, instead of mass produced items, or whatever. Like there's gonna I hope that there's a movement towards that, where the general population will just be like, yeah, I'm not reading computer generated stuff. Give me the real people stuff. And that there'll be like a real distinction between that. But like you say, we won't really know for a decade probably how this all turns out, and what it means for people's jobs. Um and I mean, I think we'll all always be like, creative people are going to be creative, and writers have to write. Like, it's in them
Yeah.
whether anybody writes or not. I suppose we're still going to just keep writing. It's just how finding that audience, and the people who want the work, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of scary to think about it. And having had books pirated, I'm like, it's really disconcerting to know that your books are being used to train this technology without your permission. And I know that affects millions and millions of people, but I don't know. It's been a scary thing. Um, but yeah, just coming back to your writing 34 books in a year with no AI, and just being like, I'm doing this. That's inspiration for everyone to say, yeah, I can totally do this. I can use my creativity, and I can shine a spotlight on this and remind people about how important it is to have human created art in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know. I feel like not just we as creators want to put out our stories, but readers too. Like readers like they will follow certain authors. Like that's why there's like sort of cult of personalities around sort of certain authors, like Stephen King. Like you name him, everyone around the world knows who he is. Like, and if he put out something that was under a different name that no one knew, like it would not have the same popularity. But
Right.
that's because people know him, right? And like him and follow him. And so I feel like readers do also like that. I mean, I don't know how many in-person stuff that you do, but I love to go to local author fests and, author, conferences and stuff. And the number of people there who are just like so excited to meet authors. And I'm excited. Like there's a list of authors that I would love to meet in
Yeah.
person. So we like that human connection. It's not just the stories we read, but also having that person to follow and being like, oh yes, if this person, I like Kristen Higgins. She's a romance writer. Like I love her stuff. It's funny. So like I if she was doing a conference or doing an in-person thing, you bet I would go and I would buy her book.
For sure.
So
Yes. No,
yeah.
I think that's the saving grace too. And I feel like that's what when we talk about marketing and promotion, and you were talking about earlier using some of your project and telling people about it and doing reels or whatever you were doing. That's the authenticity, like from the writer to the audience, that like I'm a human being, this is what I'm doing. Like you're not, it's not just the written words, it's the person behind it. And that to me is really authentic and it connects you with audiences, which I think is so delightful. I'm the same. I love to go to events. I love to meet people. I love to like do library events or festivals or whatever. And it's so fun to just like be in a room with other writers and with readers and talk about writing and like it's just
It
so
is.
delightful. And you're not going to get that with like some kind of AI.
No, no, you won't.
That's
Definitely.
not going to be the same. Can you imagine a writer's fest with AI bots or whatever those strange looking? Like, no, we don't want that. Yeah. But how do you feel about promotion and marketing? Because that's an area that writers really do struggle with. I think many writers are introverted, don't necessarily want to put themselves out there and in big ways. How do you feel about it? And what do you find works for you?
So I feel that every writer who wants to be serious about their craft and being able to connect to readers has to have one online presence at least,
Mm.
one that they just really focus on and really excel at, whether that's, and I usually say, you definitely should have a website
Yeah,
because the first thing that people do is like look up a writer. And if
true.
you have a website, you have 100% control over that. You can put all your books, you can put marketing news, you can put events you're doing. So it's a great way, a great central way for people to find you. And there are a lot of platforms that you can do it if you don't want to run your own, like Substack, for example, is a good one. So there's a lot of tools out there to make it easy, even if you are, a Luddite, even if
Yes.
you like are not really into technology.
Yeah.
Um, Social media is a necessary evil. And I don't think that you need to spread yourself thin, but find one that you like.
Right.
Um, and just really work on that and connect with people there, talk to people, talk about your books, what they like to read, post kitten pictures, I don't know. But like find a way to connect with people
Exactly.
on one platform, because if you do too much, you're just spending all your time.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone who has presence on TikTok and Instagram and Blue Sky and Twitter. Like I have all of them.
Right.
I am not active on all of them.
Right.
Um, like I do things where I like, I'll build up a little one and then go to a different one, but I have my favorites, like, and
Yeah.
they're ones that I post more regularly on.
Right.
But social media should be something maybe you have, but is not the top of your priority. If you're spending all your time on social media, you're writing the wrong things,
Right.
I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. That's good advice. I like the idea of taking one that you like to do and honing your skills on that and focusing on that because it's
Yeah.
so easy to be on all the platforms and be not visible at all and just be like I was on a lot of platforms and I ended up in the fall, well, maybe a year ago, just sort of saying, okay, which ones am I actually present on? Which ones am I basically ignoring? And if anyone went to see me there, I'd look like I was not present, right? Because I hadn't posted for so long. And I just deleted the ones that I wasn't using and pared it down. And that made a big difference because I didn't feel as overwhelmed. And then I was more
Yeah.
engaged with the ones I was using. And and there's a couple that I think, oh, I could really go off of that. But then I have family, I have friends there, and there's other reasons to be on it. And I think, okay, I'll keep that for now. But I love the idea that just start out with something and try to enjoy it and find some delight in those conversations with other people. And then it feels less icky to be
Yeah.
there.
I mean, that's true. And like you can do something. I mentioned cat videos. I
Yeah.
post cat videos on TikTok. Like
Yes.
I
Uh-huh.
have posted like writing related stuff. Oh, and I also post like political stuff, right?
Yes.
Um, but it's not like my central like I am
No.
a writer type of thing. It is for fun, like
Yes.
and if people disagree, okay.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
fine.
That's fine. Exactly.
If they
Exactly.
don't love my cat, that's okay.
I know. But how can they not? Like, really?
I know, right?
That's so
So,
good.
yeah, I like what you said about having fun. That
Yeah,
is
I
true.
think you have to find ways to just because you're right. We have to do this promotion. We have to do marketing as writers and as artists, and you have to let people know what you're doing. But on the other hand, if you can find ways to enjoy it, then it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel onerous. It feels like kind of nice to connect with somebody and comment and share things and but yeah, I think if you have too many platforms and you're just trying to post on them all the time, then that's too much effort.
Yeah.
We
Well,
need to
also
put that time in writing.
don't be the shouty person. Like there are some, like creatives who just are like, my book is now 99 cents on this like and that's all they post. Like they don't post anything personal. They don't post anything like again, cat videos, like or anything like that really will draw a reader in. And that is part of it. Like readers want to feel like, hey, I get this person too. Like I loved her story, but I also get her. Like she's a
Yes,
normal person. She's a mom. Like she
yes,
writes these stories. So that's what I think people are looking for on social media. If you are trying to market your work, you're sort of marketing yourself. It's sort of the
yeah,
author's brand, but
yeah,
it's not the shouty like ad. You're not an
yeah.
ad. You got to be authentic.
I love that so much. That's a really great place to land is the authenticity. And I can tell that you're an authentic, lovely human being who I'm sure your audiences just love engaging with you. And I am so delighted to have this chance to talk with you about your work and your process and just this inspiring idea of writing 34 books and a book a week. I think everyone's going to be like, okay, I need to try maybe one a month or maybe one a year is maybe our pace, but it's so inspiring. So thanks for sharing with us. I really appreciate it. It's great to meet
Oh,
you.
thanks so much for having me on. It was so lovely to chat with you.
Oh, thank you. Do you have writing goals that you want to achieve in 2025? If you need support, encouragement, accountability, and community, join the Women Writing Circle. We meet bi weekly to set writing goals and get pages done. Go to Women Writing on Substack and subscribe. Let's create a little magic this year. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to have a coffee break with us at Women Writing. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Writing on Substack. If you like this episode, share it with someone who needs a writing break and a little inspiration. Happy writing! Thank you to Michael Jensen for his original music and editing, and to Mia Jensen for the logo design.